and in today's video we will be cooking moong beans. Moong beans is actually ndengu in Kenya. I believe that's the name we use. Pojo is another name, and it's green grams in English. So my kids are very picky when it comes to food, but I think I have perfected the recipe that really works for them because they love rice and beans. And so I'm excited to share with you guys how I cook my ndengu or moong beans. And this recipe calls for a rich tomato sauce, and to balance off the acidity I choose something sweet. In today's video I will be using sweet potato yam. Back home growing up, I don't think I ever saw something like this, but we had sweet potatoes, we had pumpkin, and even squash, and both of those would actually really work well for this recipe. So yeah, get your pumpkin if you don't have, this kind of yam. So I'm going to be dicing this into a little bit of cubes and steam, and I will boil the ndengu till like it's soft, and then we will come back and I will show you guys how I prepare this to perfection. It's going to be delicious, and I can't wait to show you guys the end product. So see you guys in a few. Welcome back, guys. So our ndengu and the yam is ready to go. So the ingredients that I'll be using today, I'm going to be using about like 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Normally I would use avocado seed oil, but I actually ran out of that. And then I have diced onions. I dice them really small because, again, kids, they don't like to be picking off like onions or pieces of tomato in their mouth. And then I have 3 tomatoes that I actually blended. So that's my tomatoes. I'm going to be using about a teaspoon of turmeric. I'm going to be using about half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And my salt of choice is always going to be Himalayan pink salt. So I'm going to be using probably to taste, I guess. And my other ingredient is, this is chicken broth mix, but you can go with any bouillon that you have. You can, if you're in Kenya, I think we have a lot of choices for like Royco cubes, beef cubes and stuff like that, whichever works for you, whatever is available. If you have Royco works perfect as well. I'm gonna be using half and half milk. You can use any dairy products you have. You can use milk, you can use cream, with not whipping cream, the thick cream. This one is having half milk, half cream. I'm gonna be using about half a cup of that. And then we have our sweet potato, our yam or sweet potatoes, and then we use this ndengu that is ready to go. When I cook my ndengu, I do not cook for it to be mushy. I cook it to kind of like leave it a few minutes to cook more when I actually do the prepare the ingredients. So we're gonna start with our oil. I'm just gonna estimate this. Our pan is hot. I believe that is about 3 tablespoons. So let that heat, and then we're gonna add it's actually hot already, so we're gonna add our onions. This is actually a gadget that actually dices onions. I find it to be very effective. Like, it doesn't crush it to like blend it. It actually works really well. I love it. So let the onion sweat a little bit. And what you don't want to do is burn the onions, because then it's going to change the flavor of your food. do that for about 30 seconds. And my next ingredient to go in is gonna be the garlic powder and turmeric. Turmeric is really good for inflammation, but when you're using it to cook, you gotta have to really let it cook. Like, so there's nothing bad as like fruit that the turmeric is still tasting raw. So you want your turmeric to really cook well, and you can do that by starting at the beginning of your cooking. You want to add your turmeric, not at the end of your cooking. So I think it is time to add in the next ingredients so that they cook well. I love when the spices really cook very well. And I'm cooking on a on a medium heat. So I am going to add about a spoon, this is a teaspoon, so I'm going to do 1.5 of the chicken liver broth. Mix that in. Guys, when my dogs hear the food smelling, they came running. They think it's time to eat, but not yet. And I'm gonna just eyeball the garlic powder. And about that should be about like a teaspoon, half a teaspoon. Okay, there it is, guys. Then now it's our turmeric. So I'm gonna use a tiny spoon. This is a small spoon, so I'm gonna do 1.5 of this. I'm gonna mix that in. Look at the color, guys. Look at that. So again, you don't want to burn your spices, so you have to keep an eye all the time. Don't step away when you're still cooking your spices. You can step away once you add the food and you have water in there, because and also depending on the kind of pot that you're using, this one tends to like the food tend to stick down at the bottom, and you don't want that. So I'm gonna let this cook for about a minute for the turmeric and all the other spices to mix up really good. It smells really awesome. So our next step will be to do our tomato. Remember, this is going to be tomato sauce. Like, the sauce is going to be majority of it is going to be tomatoes. So I'm going to be using, I would say, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste plus our tomatoes, and I'm gonna add just a little bit of the boxed tomato sauce. Again, it's a lot of tomatoes, but the reason is it's going to be the acid is going to be balanced off by the sweet potatoes, so it's gonna give that sour, sweet flavor, and you're gonna love it. Like, yeah, this is one recipe that I think it's really good with with the tomatoes and the sweetness that comes from the yams. So look at that, guys. It is coming together really well. And you have to be careful. Turmeric really stains a lot. Like, if you're not careful, like if you get it on your fingers, if you get it on your clothes, depending on what kind of clothes you're wearing. If it's white, I'm telling you, I don't know. I've never found an easier way of getting turmeric out of clothes. Or when your hands, yeah, you wash your hands a lot, so it's gonna come off eventually. But they tend to cover anything that is around it, even on your countertop. Sometimes I have to put bleach on it to actually remove it. So be careful when you're cooking with turmeric. Okay, so the next ingredient is going to be adding my tomato paste. Again, I do not brown like my onions. I don't like it when it's cooked to where like it's browning. But I do that when I'm cooking pilau or something else, but not, you know. So there goes in the tomato paste. Again, I said about 2 tablespoons. This is a small spoon, so that's certainly enough. I'm gonna mix it in. So you realize I'm putting in my tomato paste before the tomatoes. Okay. Oh God, it smells so good in here. I know a lot of people use garlic or ginger when they're making their mung beans. I find that sometimes that the flavor from the garlic and ginger actually overpowers the actual taste of your mung beans. So I don't tend to use that when I'm cooking my beans. So that's just a note, because I know a lot of people use garlic or ginger, but this recipe does not call for that. But I use the garlic powder, yes I do. Look at how that looks like. I'm gonna give it another 30 seconds before I can add in the tomatoes, and we're gonna cover this for it to cook a little bit, and then we'll come back and add our food and the next steps. It's looking really good. Even Mikey over here, he's just liking you. Can I have some? Okay guys, I'm gonna add in tomatoes. Look at that. Smells really, really good. I am just going to add about 2 tablespoons of this. Remember, it's a tomato sauce, so it's gotta be a sauce, right? And let me use this to measure that. I'm using about like 3 tablespoons. Okay. And I'm going to stir that in. And I'm going to cover this to actually let it simmer and cook for about 4 minutes or so on a very low heat. Because again, you don't want your tomatoes to you don't want the tomato sauce to stick to the bottom of the pot. So you want to cook it on a very low heat until it boils and everything is blended really well. So we'll come back in a few and add in everything else and plate it. Okay, see you in a few minutes. So hey, welcome back guys. Here is how the sauce looks like. It's been cooking for around 10 minutes, and you can see at the bottom it's beginning to like thicken up, and the oil is floating above. So now I am going to be adding the ndengu and the yam. So there we go. That looks good. And mix these guys up. And look at that, guys. So I had my heat on a low, so I'm gonna bring it back into like a medium. Now that the food is in, yeah, look at that. Oh, it looks really good, and also tastes really good. So again, I'm gonna let this cook for a few before I can add in. I'm gonna just give it like 2 minutes or so, and then I'm going to be adding my. I'm gonna see if salt is needed, and the oven half, or if you're using whipping cream or milk, whichever works. And I will need just a little bit of water, like out a cup, but I'm gonna let it come to a boil here before I can do that. That's all I'm gonna simmer for a minute before I can do this, before I can add the next ingredients. So just to say that, you know, if you're a vegetarian, this recipe would work really for you. Mung beans is a good source of protein. You know, totally you can replace this if you are into, or if you're looking to become a vegetarian. This is one food that you can actually look into. You know, it's not very common. Here in the US, we actually get it from the international markets. I've never seen it in like the major supermarkets that we have here. So it's very rare, but totally you can find it in almost every Asian store. You can find it in not African. Haven't seen it in any African stores, but in the Asian stores you will definitely find it. Yeah. So there it is, boiling. So I'm going to add a little bit of like water, and again it depends. That is, I just used to have a cup of that. It depends also, like, your kids love soup in, you know, if you're eating this with chapati, you might need, you know, to have like the sauce to be more, but again, don't add in a lot of water so that it kind of like dilutes the flavors. So I just added, to me that is enough water for now, and then I'm gonna let it again come to a boil before I could add the oven off. In the meantime, I would say, like, if you haven't really subscribed to my channel, please do so. I would love to share with you guys more recipes that work for children, especially for those parents who have their kids in the US. The kids are quite picky over here, and so going back to those traditional recipes that, or like traditional foods like rice and beans that are really healthy, super healthy for them, you know, sometimes it just takes practice to actually get to a place, a good recipe that the kids would love. So yeah, please subscribe, comment, like. Let me know what else do you want me to bring it for you guys. You know, I'm thinking I'm gonna make a recipe soon for rice. Just cooking your rice to perfection, where like they are single grains instead of you know, the mushy type. My kids cannot stand when you cook rice and it's kind of like just mashed potatoes. So let me know if that is something that you're interested in, and I will definitely bring that for you guys. So yeah, the has come to a boil, so I'm going to add the cream, the oven off. What I had is about, it's really almost gone, but I would think it's almost half a cup, so I'm going to just use all of that. Again, remember, we have a lot of acidity in this food, and so the milk is going to neutralize it. But also you have to, sometimes when you look at it, you would think like the mixture of the milk and the acidity from the tomatoes is actually making it look like it's cultured, or kind of like a cultured milk, but you have to let it cook and it's just gonna blend. Yeah. What I'm gonna try and do here is kind of like crush some of the sweet potatoes, so that that sweetness from them is actually blended together with the beans, and that way it's going to neutralize, and then you have that sour sweet taste of the sauce, and together with like the taste of the mung beans, oh, it is heaven. So yeah, so that is what I'm doing right now, and I'm gonna just continue to let it simmer for a little bit. But before that, before I cover it, one of my secret ingredients that actually works very well for this recipe is to add I'm gonna add like this is my secret ingredient. Look at that. I'm going to add 2 small tablespoons of sugar. Oh, and definitely you will need this, I promise you. You will definitely need the sugar, because the sauce had a lot of tomatoes in it, and so it is going to taste really, really good. And we're gonna be garnishing this with we're gonna garnish this with scallions. I guess it's we call it in Kenya like the green onions, the leafy onions. So that is what I'm gonna use to garnish this with. So get ready, it's gonna be plated soon, and I'm gonna taste my salt like once I'm ready to plate it. So see you in a minute. Here is our finished product. So I am going to scoop this out into a serving bowl. Guys, look at that. The color itself is just everything. The sauce looks really good and it tastes really good. So this recipe works really good for children. I mean, I cannot tell you how much my kids do enjoy this. And it's super healthy. You can serve this with rice, you can serve this with chapati, whatever works for you. Even ugali, I think people eat ugali with this too. So yeah. And I am going to garnish this just in a minute. Look at that, guys. Okay. So for me over here, I'm going to put that there. And my onions, my scallions. Look at these, guys. I am not the type of person to buy everything from the store. So sometimes I find easier ways to grow my own stuff. And this, when I have scallions or the green onions, once I use the leaves, I just get the bottom of it and dip it into this container. And I do that the same thing. Look at this. This is mint, and actually I think I was growing. It's been only 3 weeks since I put this at the bottom in this container, and look at how it's growing really, really good and smells good. And then this is my mint. I use mint when I cook any type of protein like beef or chicken. Super healthy. Look at that. So I'm going to chop out these scallions and I'm going to wash them and dice it and then put it on top. Scallions are really good, but any type of legumes, oh my goodness. The flavor that it has, it's not overpowering. Kind of compared to any other onions. So it is really, really, really good. You should try it. So I am going to chop this. Into small pieces and Oh, it smells really good. I love the smell of green onions, scallions. Guys, you gotta try this and let me know in the comment section what you thought about this recipe, and let me know what other recipes you'd like me to prepare for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for those who subscribed. Please, if you haven't, please do so. And until the next one, peace.